In the meantime, Elon Musk's Starlink is touted as something that could be a major boost for the South African economy. President Ramaphosa's recent talks with Starlink founder Elon Musk and government's subsequent interest in changing BEE rules suggest that it may be paving a way for the setting up of the satellite internet constellation group in the country. Just what will this mean for competition in the local fiber internet connection market? Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza joined us in our Tech Tuesday newsroom crossing with his take. Let's take a look.
That's what we're hoping for. There was a time about, I'm going to call it a month ago, we got the first indication where President Ramaphosa came out to say that we are in talks with Cyril, not with Cyril, we're in talks with Elon, trying to get him, to invest in the country. That was the first, inkling. And then about a week or two later, that's when the famous photos of President Ramaphosa and Elon, come out. And that gave people even more impetus to say something is happening. The third piece is that we've also seen a strong statement that has come through from the new Minister for Communication and Digital Technologies, that is Solimalatse, who came out to say that they're working, because he's had his own meeting with the Starlink team, and he says that they're working on, can I call it a package of some sort, but they're working on softening or at least finding workarounds around the regulatory aspects, so that they can help out what's going on. If I can just...
That's going to be quite interesting, because I'm thinking this regulatory package that is being worked on, I wonder if it's going to be specifically for Starlink or if it could open up the market for other players in other industries.
Well, the minister uses broad language, of course. To quote him, he says, "It is my intention to issue a policy direction to the Independent Communications Authority of SA, that's ICASA, in terms of the Electronics Communications Act, to clarify the department's position on the recognition of equity equivalent programs for urgent consideration." And you hear that language very broad, and you're like, what is he talking about? In essence, when he talks about, equity equivalent programs, one of the sticking points that's thought to have stopped Starlink is the 20% limit on foreign ownership of your internet, of your telecoms providers in South Africa, to say that you need to have the majority of the operation being owned by previously disadvantaged groups in the country. It's what we typically refer to as BEE. So there's been a lot of pressure to say, surely there's something that can actually be done. And it wouldn't be anything new. There's so many international companies that operate in South Africa.
Isn't that even what we thought would hinder a Canal Plus with multi-choice?
Yes, but this is a slightly... It's the same set of rules. Same set of rules, but I guess the application is a bit different, because here in the case of Canal Plus and multi-choice, it's a foreign entity taking over a local entity, and you're not sure what happens in terms of the license. In this particular case, it's a foreign entity looking to establish an operation in the country. So the sticking point has been, how do you deal with the BEE question? Like I said, lots of international companies operate in South Africa, and they've gone around these equity equivalent programs, where instead of direct ownership, perhaps you negotiate that a certain number of your suppliers are going to be perhaps local businesses. I know that for surrounding countries to South Africa, that's been one of the models that's used to say that Starlink is entering these countries with, a local partner, that type of thing. So we wait to see what government does, but at least we're seeing the progress.
Well, I mean, but also, why do we all want Starlink? There's so much excitement. What's driving this favoritism to Starlink?
So one of the reasons why we wrote this article, which was published earlier today, is because I spent last week at a telecom conference. That is the Southern Africa Telecommunications and Networks conference, I believe. That's at SATNAC.
Oh, yes,
I probably butchered it a little bit. But basically, this question of Starlink actually came up quite a bit, as you can imagine, throughout the conference. And one of the questions that was asked is, well, is it a disruptor for local telecoms operators? And we had the team from OpenServe actually coming out to say, actually, no, we don't see it as a threat. We see a world where we can coexist. The reason why people see it as a threat is because what Starlink does is to plug connectivity holes in areas where there isn't mobile connectivity or fiber connectivity. You will know that when you go to certain rural areas in South Africa, you just can't get, there's just no network, or the most you can do is to make a call. You can't get online, that type of thing. Such a place has no fiber, right? So satellite has traditionally been the plug. Always existed, lots of people provided. But now Starlink is offering satellite, but at a cheaper rate and at a faster rate. So to illustrate, a typical fiber package right now, you can get in at 500 Rand. It can be unlimited, 20 megabytes, maybe even up to 40, right? Starlink, okay, let me come back. Old satellite technology, right, was sitting between 700 to about 3,000 Rand that people were paying for their internet service, right? Now Starlink, at least in neighboring countries, has come in at $50. In Eswatini, they've come in at 960 Rand. So that gives us an indication of what we're looking at. That's for 100 megabyte type of speed. So very comparable to fiber, right? So the thought is, these guys come in, okay, we're talking about plugging rural connectivity. But in urban areas,
are people just not going to use it?
Yeah, because in urban areas, there's greater buying power and all of that stuff. You might actually see some people either switching from fiber if some people just want to test it out. You know, you're just curious. Okay, everyone's talking about Starlink.
It's new,
Yeah, I want to try it out. That's one. Two, not all places in cities are serviced by fiber. Not all places in cities have 5G or strong, you know, mobile connections. It can be tricky. So in certain urban towns, it might end up becoming something attractive. So now you might potentially take customers away from your mobile operators and your fiber operators. But OpenServe is like, actually, we see a world where we can coexist.
Well, it would actually be interesting because, I mean, Starlink does exist in some African countries, so it would actually be quite interesting to go into those markets to see if there is that coexistence in those markets. But Mudiwa, we do have to leave the conversation there. Thank you so much for your time and giving us a very, very fascinating insights there. That was Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza.